Great. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Distance Reiki Share. For those that are watching later, potentially, we do have the free Distance Reiki Share every Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, where we talk about Reiki topics, we do Reiki guided meditations, and then if you are able to stay, we go into breakout rooms in small groups and give and receive Reiki with each other. We've been doing this for a couple years now and just love the community that's always here, that has been built. There we go. And just our time together. It's a really special circle. And we usually have, anywhere from, I would say, 80 to 100 people that are here. Let me just switch my settings here. There we go. And just love the support that we have with one another. So those are free and open to all. It's also open to all experience levels. So, even if you're not attuned to Reiki, but would like to just check it out and what Reiki is, and, receive Reiki, things like that, you're also welcome to come. And we also have, very experienced Reiki people here. So it's open to everyone. Just a few announcements. Colleen won't be here today in the circle as she is teaching Reiki Master these 3 days. And then she also has a Karuna Reiki Master coming up this weekend, which is today, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. And it's the last one that she'll be teaching for the year. She only teaches Karuna a couple times a year. And I don't think, Danny, she teaches it again in February. Yeah, okay. So, and then also Colleen, myself, and Sue Strong, who are 3 of the 4 authors of the ICRT Animal Reiki manuals and courses. We are teaching that in November 2nd and 3rd for Reiki 1 and 2, Animal Reiki 1 and 2, and November 4th, 5th, and 6th for ICRT Animal Reiki Master. So we hope to see you all there. And then just the last thing is that we are posting a lot to our YouTube channel. Some of you might be watching this later on YouTube. And so we just ask that you like and subscribe. There's a ton of information, guided invocations, meditations, those kinds of things. And then the other thing that we are doing is we are posting again a lot more to our podcast. So you can catch the podcast on YouTube, but you can also catch it on all of your podcast apps. So, and also on our website, if that's the easiest for you. So we're including more guests again. We just had Pam LeBlanc, who is the 4th author of the Animal Reiki manual. And then we just had Andrea Kennedy, which was released yesterday on the app and on the apps and on YouTube. And so that was a super interesting conversation too. All right. And I also want to say hi to Danny, who is our co-host today. So Danny, go ahead.
Good morning. I just wanted to say something. So Colleen and Robyn get emails daily about inquiring about Reiki. They're not quite, they don't know it. They don't understand, they're just inquiring about it. And so I always recommend them to this Reiki share just to sit back and watch and listen or participate. So I know I see a few people who are here who are new. And so it's just so exciting, for people to be interested. So just wanted to mention that.
Awesome. Yes, thank you, Danny. And for those of you that are coming, that are new, we do welcome you. And we know always that it's a little like, oh no, I'm going to a new circle. And so we really appreciate that you coming and trying it out. And just know that, all of us were new to this circle at one point in time. And so we totally understand it, feel very comfortable. You can even just keep your video off if you want. Just to check it out. And then, eventually, if you just want to continue coming, we're a very welcoming group, if I do say so myself, as most Reiki circles are. So it's definitely a piece of the energy. So yeah, thanks, Danny. Thanks for the reminder. And of course, you're always welcome to email us and ask questions and things like that too. All right. And I just saw Margaret say that you're halfway through the most recent YouTube with Andrea, and it's really good. Thank you. We really enjoyed our conversation with her. All right, so now that we have all of the announcements done, we're going to go ahead and get, and Danny, can you lower your hand so that I can move the boxes around? I always like to have you next to me. There we go. Just makes me feel comfortable. All right. So what we are going to be talking about this month, so that's kind of where this circle has led us over the last couple of years, and really just allowing the Reiki energy to guide that and listening to the Reiki energy and, you know, what it also wants to talk about, what it wants to, how it guides this circle. That's one of the things that we always do in even our meetings, things like that, where we always take a moment and just allow the Reiki energy to come in and sort of be the backbone of this, of our work, and really listening to it, because it just guides us from a higher perspective. And so that's where we've kind of gone over the last, you know, 4 or 5 months, is where we have themes for every month. So September, for example, was space clearing, and we talked about kind of all of the different ways and things that we can do for space clearing with Reiki, how we can combine Reiki with other types of space clearing. And so that was September's. We have like the invocations, and we have the information again on the YouTube channel. So what we're going to be talking about this month, it's another common question that we get, is about journeying in general, and also Reiki journey. And so what we're going to be talking about this month with that is, first of all, what it is. What is it? You know, I know that Colleen and I mention that term a lot. We talk about that term. It's a part of our Reiki work. It's a part also, again, of, you know, kind of how we do a lot of the things that we do. Some of you might already be familiar with the term. Some of you might be skilled in it. But I know that it is another common question that we get. So what is it? Is kind of the first thing that we will be talking about. We're going to do an overview today about it, and then we'll continue to go into different pieces of journeying and Reiki journeying and different topics that kind of surround that theme. Then also, you know, why do we do that? Like, how does it help us? Because I think that, you know, that's one of the big things, is like, you know, why would we want to learn about it in general? And how can we use Reiki energy with it, how we can combine it with the things, or if you're already a practiced journeyer, how do you combine the Reiki energy with like your existing practices? So that is, I was about to say September, it's already October. That is October's theme that we will be having. So, and then on top of it, we're actually going to do some guided Reiki journeys. So both Colleen and I actually can, you know, channel some of the Reiki journeys. And so we'll be doing some of that so that you can get, so you can experience it for yourself. And even if you're not attuned to the Reiki energy, that's okay. The journey work will still, you know, if you choose to stay for that portion, you'll still be able to do it. So some of you might be familiar with the term journeying from the shamanic perspective. So, you might even be practiced in shamanic journeying. You might have heard it from that. It is a term that is used in shamanic work. And, I kind of want Colleen to be here to talk about that kind of background and her background and the roots of how we started to use like the Reiki energy to do that work. So she'll be here next week and she'll talk a little bit about that. But first, like what is, and thank you, Danny. Danny is putting a couple of articles in the chat that Colleen and I wrote one together, and then she wrote one on her own. Can you put the spiritual guidance one in there too, Danny? Thanks. That you can read as well, in addition to what we're talking about. So what is a journey is kind of the first question that I think, a lot of us have. And so the term journey is, it's talking about going to the spiritual realm. So how do we visit the higher realms of consciousness? And when we're talking about a Reiki journey, in like a traditional shamanic work, is people use like a drum beat or a rattle. They're using the sound and the beat of the drum to travel to these enlightened realms, to travel to the spiritual realms. When we're talking about Reiki journeying, of course, there's other styles of doing it. We're not the only ones that do Reiki journeys. Lots of people do that and teach it and guide it. But when we're talking about a Reiki journey, what we are doing is we're actually using the distance symbol, which is a bridge of light, to travel to the spiritual realms. So essentially, you can kind of think about it as like a doorway to traveling into higher consciousness, to essentially have spiritual experiences. So there's lots of modalities that we might either, have practice in, or that we think of around having these spiritual experiences. I think one of the most common ones that, that we just know about, it's not to say that you've experienced it, but that we just know about, is plant medicine and having these really profound spiritual experiences. So I think that's kind of a common one that we know about, but there's lots of modalities that do this work in different ways. Many can experience it through meditation. Of course, we know that many experience it through shamanic journeying. That's, one way that we do that, but people can have these, kind of profound spiritual experiences in a variety of ways. The meditation can cause this to happen. I know that some people, or like transcendental meditation, that's one of the ones, and you can have them in like ceremonies that you might be a part of. Many people have them like in Reiki classes where you have those downloads or those insights that come through. If you're Holy Fire Reiki, the experiences in Holy Fire Reiki and actually the placements are kind of in the style of like a Reiki journey, where you're being guided to a place, you have time in your own inner experience, and then you're guided out. And a lot of times people in classes talk about those inner experience times as having these profound spiritual experiences. And so essentially that's what we're doing when we're journeying. We have an intention on why we are doing the journey. We're using the Reiki energy to travel to these higher realms of consciousness. Some people call them divine, some people call them spiritual realms. Some people call them higher consciousness. So we are intentionally and actively going to these spiritual realms to have these experiences. And the great thing about learning how to journey, because it's a skill and anybody can do it, but the great thing about learning how to journey is that it's actually something that you don't necessarily need external aids, like such as in plant medicine. that you can, to be able to do this work. And so, there's a variety of different reasons that people may not be able to do plant medicine. At the same time, journey work can complement that pretty well. So it's not a better than, but it's just the awareness that you can have spiritual experiences, that you can have these profound, mind-blowing experiences without like any sort of external aid for them. So, many people in classes, even if you're not having those really profound experiences, gain insight in their healing. They are connecting deeper into their intuition. Part of that is also a part of Reiki journeying. But we are really trying to do it with a very actively and intentionally through the process of journeying. So essentially, like I said, what we are doing and what we'll do today, again, if you're not attuned to Reiki, that's okay, because the guided meditation is, or the guided journey is going to invoke that Reiki energy for you. And we're still going to travel on a bridge of light into the enlightened realms. Reiki is an intelligent energy, and it knows how to do this, even if you're not necessarily attuned to Reiki. Also, if you're an established journeyer, or, you might have training in shamanic journeying, it's always fun to explore the different ways of doing this. And specifically using the Reiki energy is a great way to either combine it with what you're already doing, or just, trying a new way, because it's always fun to have that curiosity and try new things out. So that's kind of like the first thing about what journeying means. So when we talk about that, that's what it means. We are actively and intentionally stepping through this doorway to the spiritual realms, to the divine realms, to the unseen realms. There's all sorts of definitions for that, but it's this reality that's kind of outside of our daily waking reality. So within our five senses, this is outside of those senses. Generally, you're going to have your eyes closed. It's going to be similar to kind of like an idea of a guided meditation, but the intention of it, instead of kind of just letting everything be, we're actually being a bit more active with it. Like that's kind of the intention. Of course, there's a wide range of styles of journeying, and even with somebody that is a practice journeyer, sometimes we do go into that meditative style of journeying, and other times we are actively traveling into the enlightened realms and seeking the information around that. So the other thing is talking about, like, well, why do we do this? What is the purpose of learning how to journey? So the one thing that I want to really make sure, and I know Colleen will say this, we all say this, is that this isn't a requirement for Reiki to do its work. So that's like the first thing that I want to say, is that, again, it's not hierarchical in the way that this all works. It's just people are called to different things. And so this is just for the people who are called to this style of work. So with any Reiki session, whether or not the practitioner or yourself is doing any style of journeying work, or, downloading insights, things like that, the Reiki works regardless. And that's one of the amazing things too that I love about journeying with Reiki, is that we are using the Reiki energy. So it's not actually coming from us and from our own life force. It is coming from the Reiki energy. So we are simply observing what the Reiki energy is doing. So that is that is kind of defining what it means with journeying through Reiki, wherein like shamanic work, again, it's not coming from their own life force, but it is coming from guides and aids and different things in the different realms. So there is a little bit of a difference within that. With Reiki journeying too, you can, as you have all experienced, you can have these profound healing Reiki sessions, and really there's nothing being said. There's no invocation, because the Reiki energy is always inherently releasing what needs to be healed, and empowering more of that true self, that authentic self, that inner self, empowering you underneath the layers that have been put on us in this lifetime or other lifetimes. And so the Reiki sessions are always doing that either way. What a Reiki journey is doing is essentially we are going in and observing what the Reiki energy is doing. So what is it healing? You know, we all have our intentions. We go into Reiki sessions. What is it healing? How is it doing that work? That kind of thing. And then also, like, what pieces of your authentic self is it revealing? And being able to observe that and being able to go in and kind of do that work is a really amazing practice. Again, it's not a fit for everyone, and that's fine. But I will tell you, it is. You know, I do self Reiki, just Reiki on its own, but then I also have the spaces where I am actively going in and doing Reiki journeys. And it's been life changing for me, and it's life changing for many people. Also, you can even get to the point with Reiki journeying where if you're called to, not everybody is called to doing Reiki for others, but if you're called to, you can combine Reiki journeying with your Reiki sessions. And I know that that's the way that Colleen and Danny and I practice, and others that are in here that especially have been through the next step training, where we combine Reiki journeys with our Reiki sessions. So still doing our hand positions, our distance Reiki on our surrogates, or in person, moving through the hand positions, but combining it with a Reiki journey and channeling it out loud can just give additional insights. Or many of you have experienced our channeled meditations, our invocations, channeling the guided meditation, or channeling the guided journeys. That is, you know, what the tool that we are using to do that work. And that's the amazing thing about it, is that it's just a skill. Like, there are people that are maybe gifted in these areas, but for those of us who aren't, it's a skill that you can learn, and it is anybody can learn. And that's kind of the amazing thing about it, is that it is something that you can practice and get better at over time, because nobody starts out being amazing at it. You have to start, just like school, you know, you have to start and build your muscles with it. So that is kind of the, like, what the Reiki journey is, and like the kind of the difference between a Reiki journey, how we're working with it, with the Reiki energy. So that's that piece of it. The other piece of it is, so why do we do this? You know, I mean, we know that obviously Reiki is enough, and it has profound healing things. But like I said earlier, it can be super helpful to have the additional insights. It can be fascinating to have the additional insights. And also, so, you know, one of the biggest things that we find, not only for ourselves, but for others, is that it does really help to heal our trauma. So it can be combined with other modalities such as therapy. You know, I know that in some of the new therapy systems, there are things that are kind of similar to this type of work. I want to be careful with what I say there, but, you know, from what I know of, like, internal family systems and brain spotting and some of those, that's like, you know, clients will tell me about that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds so much like some of the work that we do in this type. So, you know, I want to be careful. It's never like a replacement for therapy or anything like that. It's a complement to any of that additional work. Or, you know, we may be really practiced in it and have a meditation practice or a yoga practice or a shamanic practice, you know, so it's always, again, a complement to it. But, you know, what it can really do is help heal our trauma. So we all have trauma from this lifetime. from past lifetimes. We may have generational trauma. We may have ancestral history trauma. And this is one of the things that Reiki journeying and learning how to journey in general can really have profound effects around. So, many times having those additional insights as these layers have been placed on us, and therefore kind of created a culturally created self. And that can be from our experiences in this life. It can also just be too from our, cultural selves, things that our culture also creates and puts those layers on them. Andrea in the podcast that we just released had a great visual for this. She's like, it's like quilts, and you place all of these quilts, all these quilts are placed on you. And as you're going through this work, you are taking the quilts off, kind of one by one, and revealing who you are underneath them. And so that's what the things from this lifetime can do for us. Sometimes it is past life. Sometimes it is, again, kind of outside of what we know of in this life. But that's the other thing that we can really explore with learning how to journey. We can explore those past life experiences, that ancestral history, things like that, and have those insights about some of the things that might be affecting us in this lifetime that we didn't even necessarily know about. And at the same time, the things that have happened in this lifetime, the Reiki energy and the journeying to it gives us the additional insights to what the Reiki is doing. What's amazing about the Reiki energy within this is that the Reiki is also healing those layers. So you're lifting a layer off, and rather than it just being kind of cast out into the ethers, it's actually being lifted into the light of Reiki, where that layer is healed. Also, some of us work with enlightened guides, spirit guides, angels, like spirit animals, things like that. Those can help in this work. That's also something that you can do through journeying, is meet those spirit guides and understand who they are and why they're with you, and they help you in this work. So that's another thing. But the layers are sent into the light where they're healed. And so that's a beautiful thing about using the Reiki energy in complement to this work, is that it really helps to do that. And as we are healing these things, and it's infinite what it shows as far as healing, it's like I talked about our trauma, which is a really, really big piece of it. But, it can be cord cutting or cord unraveling, thought form unraveling. It can be spirit attachments or oaths or vows or curses, things like that it can also do. So there's, it's seriously infinite, the things that can show up for us that it is healing. So there's that piece of it. But one of the things that is the most amazing part of it is that it's not just about the healing work. It's also about the empowerment for ourselves. So once we are lifting these layers, how is more and more of our authentic self being revealed to us? And how are we living our life from that place of our authentic self, from our inner truth, from our awakened self? How are we living our life from a place of, love and compassion, not just for those around us, but also for ourselves? And that understanding of who you were before these layers were placed on you, who that light is inside, that God spark, that oneness with the universe that is connected to all things. That's the oneness with each other here. That's the oneness with these enlightened realms. It's the same as the spirit guides. That's the same as the tree and the plants and the animals. How are we living from a place that is more and more revealed to ourselves and revealed within our life, living from that pure love that we all are in the center of our being, and living from a place of remembering that love within ourselves. So remembering that you are pure love within. You are consciousness here in a human body. You are love, pure source of consciousness. People call that all different things, God, all of those things. Like, you are that here in human form. And sometimes when we come to this planet, we call it the planet of the great forgetting, because we forget that. And then also all of these things that happen to us in our life hide that more and more from our own selves. So what this work helps to do is it helps to release that and reveal that. So it's not just about the healing work, although that is obviously super, super important. It's also about that, getting back to your true self, to your inner truth, and to be able to have that awareness in your waking life, to have that awareness in your daily life of that beautiful love that you are inside. The other thing that it can really help us do is to answer our questions. So many of us that are called to this work have really big questions, like, who am I? Why am I here? What are my answers to how this all works? Exploring these really high levels of consciousness and your own answers and your own inner guidance to all of that really can be another huge piece of kind of that healing and remembering within you. And it's really fun. They're also really amazing and fun topics to explore. I think so many of us, we're called to this work because a lot of that. We all come to Reiki for different reasons, but I think many of us, even if we're not called to it for that reason, once we get into it, some of those questions start presenting themselves more and more commonly. Also, if you're an empath, or if maybe you don't necessarily feel like you belong, some of those big questions can really help to be answered through this work. And then also, as you're trying to navigate your life, it's all a spiral. So even our healing work, we visit something and then we go on the spiral, and we revisit that thing and we go on the spiral. And that's true also for that inner truth work, that remembering work. That's true for that too. That's a spiral as well. But as we're navigating our life, we all have cycles where things are really challenging. We live in a dual realm. We have hard things not only in our life, but we have hard things on this planet that are challenging to reconcile. And so how do you move through that? How do you heal through that? How do you, receive guidance through those times? How do you, how do you kind of walk through those times, receiving healing for yourself, but also, being that kind of that remembering of that love that is inside of you through those challenging times. So, and maybe they're not as challenging. Maybe you feel stuck, or maybe you're in a cycle of abundance, of bliss, of things like that. It's still in those cycles, you are able to explore your kind of deeper questions, explore your answers, and explore how you can move through them in different ways. So those are the kind of reasons. And again, there's so much around this that we could talk about it for hours and hours, and maybe that would be a great podcast. We have some that talk about this for hours and hours, but it's a really big subject. But Colleen and I really use it, and Danny, and we really use it for so much of our work. So we use the Reiki energy, but like how we wrote the animal Reiki manual was going into these deep journey spaces and listening. It wasn't what we had set out to, how we thought it would be created. And Colleen and Sue can, we have a lot of the history on that we've already talked about, but it wasn't how we thought that it would be created originally. And then it was through the Reiki journey work that all four of us did together intensively, that the information presented itself to us and what it wanted to be, and what the divine animal kingdom and the tree of life wanted it to be, and how it teaches us to live from a more authentic and connected place, how it teaches us how to, live from a more healed space, and again that remembering and empowered space that's within all of us. So we'll be talking about this. That was a whole mouthful, but we will be talking about this through all of October. And so just the different aspects of it, so the different ways that we work with it, and yeah, all the different aspects of it.